The night Claire signed divorce papers, she smiled like she had finally escaped the prison. She placed the pen on the table and looked across at Ethan Carter. "You know what hurts?" she whispered. "I spent 6 years married to a man who was afraid to become anything." Ethan stared at her. "And you think leaving me will make you successful?" "No," Claire replied. "Leaving you will finally give me a chance." Beside her stood Ryan Mitchell, the young CEO of Mitchell Dynamics. He wore an expensive black suit, a silver watch, and the confidence of a man who had never been told no. Ryan placed a hand on Claire's shoulder. "Claire deserves a better life." Ethan looked at him. "You don't know anything about our marriage." Ryan smiled. "I know enough." Claire pushed the papers toward Ethan. "Just sign." Ethan looked down at the signature line. For 6 years, he had protected Claire from problems she never knew existed. He had worked late nights. He had sacrificed opportunities. He had even refused to accept control of his family's business because Claire once told him she hated powerful men who treated marriage like a business arrangement. She had never known the truth. Ethan wasn't poor. He wasn't unemployed. And he wasn't a failure. He was a majority shareholder of Carter Global Holdings, one of the largest private investment groups in the country. But Ethan had deliberately lived quietly. He wanted to know whether Claire loved him or the life attached to his name. Tonight, he finally had his answer. Ethan picked up the pen. Claire watched him. "That's it?" she asked. "You're not going to fight?" "No." Her expression briefly changed. "Why?" "Because if I have to convince someone to stay, they've already left." Claire looked away. Ryan smirked. "You're making the right decision, Claire." Ethan signed. The room became silent. Claire stood. "I hope someday you understand why I did this." Ethan looked at her calmly. "I understand already." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means you believe the man standing beside you is the most powerful person in the room." Ryan laughed. "You're bitter." "No," Ethan said. "I'm finished." He walked toward the door. Claire suddenly called after him. "Ethan!" He stopped. For 1 second, she looked uncertain. Then pride returned to her face. "Where will you go?" Ethan turned. "Home." She almost laughed. "That apartment isn't yours anymore." Ethan smiled faintly. "I wasn't talking about the apartment." He walked out. Neither Claire nor Ryan understood what he meant. Outside, Ethan entered a waiting black sedan. His assistant, Daniel Brooks, stepped out. "Mr. Carter, the board has been waiting for your decision." Ethan loosened his tie. "Schedule the emergency meeting." Daniel hesitated. "Tonight?" "Tonight. Should I notify them that you're ready to take the chair?" Ethan looked through the window at the apartment where his marriage had just ended. "Yes." Daniel nodded. "There is one more issue." "What?" "Ryan Mitchell is trying to acquire a controlling position in one of our subsidiaries." Ethan's expression hardened. "How much?" 40%. "Let him buy it." Daniel stared at him. "Sir," Ethan leaned back. "Sometimes the best way to understand a man's intentions is to give him exactly what he thinks he wants." Daniel slowly smiled. "And Claire?" Ethan looked away. "Don't mention her at the meeting." The car disappeared into the city. Inside the apartment, Claire watched Ethan leave. Ryan approached her. "You're finally free." Claire nodded. But something about Ethan's final words bothered her. Home. What had he meant? She pushed the thought away. Ryan handed her a glass of champagne. "To your new life." Claire smiled. "To my new life." Neither of them noticed a breaking news alert appearing on Ryan's phone. Carter Global Holdings to announce new chairman tonight. Ryan glanced at it. Then his smile disappeared. Because beneath the headline was a photograph. And the man in the photograph looked exactly like Ethan. By 9 the next morning, Ethan Carter's name was everywhere. Financial networks were discussing the mysterious chairman of Carter Global Holdings. Investors were waiting for the announcement. And Ryan Mitchell was staring at the television in disbelief. "This can't be right." Claire walked into the room. "What?" Ryan pointed toward the screen. A news anchor was speaking. Sources close to Carter Global confirmed that the company's newly appointed chairman is expected to make his first public appearance today. His identity has been kept private for years. Claire looked at the screen. Her heart stopped. The photograph appeared. Ethan, she whispered. No. Ryan immediately turned off the television. It's a mistake. That's Ethan. No. Ryan, that's my husband. Ex-husband. Claire stared at him. You knew. I didn't. Then why are you panicking? Ryan walked toward the window. Because Carter Global owns companies worth billions. Claire's voice became quieter. How much? Ryan didn't answer. Ryan. Enough to destroy Mitchell Dynamics. Silence. Claire's face changed. But you're a CEO. Being a CEO doesn't mean you're untouchable. She looked at him. You told me Ethan was a nobody. I believed he was. You said he couldn't even afford a life I wanted. Ryan turned. And now you want to blame me? I want to know who my husband really was. Ryan stepped closer. You made your choice. Claire shook her head. I didn't know. That doesn't change anything. Meanwhile, across the city, Ethan entered the headquarters of Carter Global. Employees straightened as he walked past. Daniel followed behind him. Everything is ready. Good. The board wants to know whether we're responding to Mitchell Dynamics. Ethan stopped. Not yet. Why? Ryan is desperate. Daniel nodded. Desperate people make mistakes. Exactly. Inside the boardroom, 12 executives stood. Ethan sat at the head of the table. One director cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, with respect, why did you remain anonymous for so long? Ethan answered simply, because power changes how people behave. And now I know who people are. The room became quiet. Another director spoke. Mitchell Dynamics has been aggressively targeting our technology division. I know. They're trying to force us into a bidding war. Then don't bid. The director looked confused. Sir, let them believe we're afraid. Daniel smiled. Ethan continued. Move our most valuable patents into the new research subsidiary. Without informing Mitchell? Exactly. The meeting ended, but Ethan's private phone rang. He looked at the screen. Claire. He let it ring. A minute later, another call. Claire again. Then a message. Please, we need to talk. Ethan stared at it. Daniel quietly said, You don't have to answer. I know. Will you? Ethan placed the phone face down. No. That evening, Claire appeared outside Carter Global. Security stopped her. I'm here to see Chairman Carter. Do you have an appointment? No. Then I'm afraid. A voice interrupted. Let her through. Claire turned. Daniel stood behind her. She recognized him. You're Ethan's assistant. Yes. He owns his company. Daniel looked at her. You've been married to him for 6 years. Claire lowered her eyes. I didn't know. Daniel's voice remained calm. You never asked. That sentence hurt more than an insult. Claire entered the building. When she reached Ethan's office, the door opened. He stood beside the window. Claire walked inside. You knew I would come. Yes. You're really the chairman. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Ethan looked at her. You never asked who I was. That isn't fair. No, Ethan said quietly. It isn't. Claire swallowed. I made a mistake. You made a choice. I want another chance. Ethan's eyes hardened. Why? Because I still love you. He stared at her for several seconds. Then he asked a question she wasn't prepared for. If I were still the man you thought I was yesterday, would you still love me? Claire couldn't answer. Ethan nodded. That silence is your answer. He walked toward the door. Claire grabbed his arm. Please. He gently removed her hand. I don't hate you, Claire. Then why won't you forgive me? Because forgiveness doesn't mean reopening a door. Claire's eyes filled with tears. She walked away. But when she reached the lobby, her phone rang. It was Ryan. Claire, where are you? At Carter Global. Silence. Then Ryan whispered, Get out of there. Why? Because I just discovered something. What? Ryan's voice trembled. Ethan isn't just a chairman. What else could he possibly be? Ryan answered. He's the person who originally financed Mitchell Dynamics. Claire froze. Claire returned to Ryan's penthouse that night. He was standing beside a table covered with documents. What happened? Ryan pointed toward the papers. Carter Global funded my company 7 years ago. Claire stared. But Mitchell Dynamics was your company. It was my company. Then why did Ethan finance it? Ryan looked uncomfortable. Because I needed capital. Claire slowly understood. You knew Ethan before me? No. Then how? Through a private investment firm. Whose? Ryan said nothing. Claire picked up a document. At the bottom was a signature. E. Carter. Her hands trembled. You knew. Ryan's voice became defensive. I didn't know the investor was Ethan, but you knew the name Carter. I knew a corporation. You told me Ethan was useless. Ryan slammed his hand on the table. Because that's what you told me. Claire stepped back. Ryan continued. You spent years complaining that your husband wasn't ambitious. You said you wanted someone powerful. I was wrong. You didn't say that when you left him. Claire looked at him. Did you ever love me? Ryan's expression changed. What kind of question is that? A simple one. He didn't answer. Claire's voice cracked. You wanted my connection to Ethan. Ryan laughed bitterly. You didn't have a connection to Ethan anymore. That wasn't what I asked. Ryan looked away. And that was enough. Claire left. The next morning, Ethan received a call from Daniel. Sir, there's a problem. What happened? Ryan has defaulted on several loans. How much? Almost everything. Ethan was silent. Daniel continued. He's attempting to move the remaining assets overseas. Stop him legally. Yes. And Claire? She filed for emergency protection against Ryan. Ethan closed his eyes. He had expected betrayal from Ryan. But seeing Claire trapped inside the consequences of her own decision still hurt. Not because he wanted her back. Because he remembered the woman she used to be. That afternoon, Ethan visited the old apartment. The place was empty. He stood in the living room. On the wall was a small photograph from their wedding. Claire had been laughing. Ethan remembered that day. She had whispered to him, Promise you'll never stop choosing me. He had answered, Never. Now, he understood something. Promises couldn't survive when only one person kept them. His phone rang. It was his mother. Ethan. Yes. I heard about Claire. Everyone has. She made a terrible mistake. I know. Are you going to destroy her? Ethan looked out the window. No. Why? Because I don't want revenge to become my personality. His mother was silent. That sounds like the man your father wanted you to become. Ethan smiled faintly. I didn't understand him before. Understand what? That being powerful isn't about making people afraid of you. His mother sighed. Then what is it? Being able to hurt someone and choosing not to. That night, Ethan received an unexpected visitor. Claire stood outside his office. Her face was exhausted. Why are you here? I need to tell you the truth. I already know enough. No, you don't. She entered. I didn't leave because I hated you. Ethan said nothing. I left because I became ashamed of wanting more. He looked at her. I thought wanting wealth made me ambitious. Then I met Ryan, and he made me feel important. Her voice shook. He promised me everything. And you believed him. Yes. Claire looked down. I betrayed you because I wanted a life that looked impressive. Ethan's expression softened slightly. Thank you for telling me. She looked surprised. That's all. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Ethan walked toward the window. Claire, you don't need me to punish you. She started crying. I don't know how to forgive myself. That isn't my job. Then what is? Become someone you respect. She wiped her tears. I want to. Then start. She turned toward the door. Before leaving, she stopped. Ethan? Yes. Did you ever truly love me? He looked at her. Yes. She closed her eyes. Do you still? Ethan took a long breath. I care about the woman you were. I hope you become someone stronger than the woman you became. Claire nodded. She left. Ethan thought the worst was finally over. Then Daniel rushed into the room. Sir, what? We found something in the original investment files. Ethan turned. What? Daniel placed a document on the desk. The money that created Mitchell Dynamics didn't come from Carter Global. Ethan frowned. Then where did it come from? Daniel looked at him. Your father? Ethan froze. My father died 8 years ago. I know. Then how did he finance Ryan 7 years ago? Daniel slowly opened the final page. There was another signature. Ethan stared. It belonged to someone he thought had been dead for 8 years. His father. And beneath the signature were 4 words. Protect Ryan at all cost. Ethan spent the entire night in his father's old study. Boxes covered the floor. Financial records. Letters. Photographs. Contracts. He searched until sunrise. Finally, he found a sealed envelope. His father's handwriting was on the front. For Ethan, only after the truth becomes unavoidable. His hands tightened. He opened it. Inside was a letter. Son, if you're reading this, then you finally become the chairman I hoped you'd become. Ethan stopped. His father continued. Ryan Mitchell was not your enemy when I helped him. He was your brother. Ethan dropped the letter. No. Daniel stood silently behind him. Ethan stared at him. My father had no other son. Daniel shook his head. Not officially. Ethan picked up the letter again. His father explained everything. Years earlier, before Ethan was born, his father had an affair with another woman. Ryan was born from that relationship. But Ethan's father never abandoned Ryan. He secretly funded his education and eventually his company. The family secret had been hidden to protect Ethan's mother and the Carter name. But there was more. Ryan knew. He had always known. And his ambition had grown from resentment. He believed Ethan had inherited the family name while he had been forced to live in the shadows. Ethan read the final paragraph. Ryan has always believed you stole the life that should have been his. I could not give him the Carter name, but I tried to give him an opportunity. Ethan whispered, he was my brother. Daniel nodded, and he betrayed me anyway. A second document fell from the envelope. It was a succession agreement. Ethan's father had planned to divide control of Carter Global between Ethan and Ryan, but Ryan had refused. He wanted everything. Ethan leaned back, so this was never about Claire. Daniel shook his head. No, it was about him. Yes. Ethan looked toward the city. Ryan hadn't simply wanted Ethan's wife. He had wanted Ethan's identity, his company, his family, his position, his life. That afternoon, Ethan confronted Ryan. Ryan was under investigation, but he agreed to meet. They sat across from each other in an empty restaurant. Ryan looked exhausted. You know. Ethan nodded. You're my brother. Ryan laughed bitterly. Half-brother. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have cared? Yes. Ryan shook his head. You had everything. My father gave you everything he could. He gave me scraps. He gave you a company. He gave you his name. Ethan stared at him. I never asked for it. That doesn't matter. Ryan's voice cracked. You walked into a world I spent my entire life dreaming about. Ethan remained silent. Ryan continued. When I met Claire, I realized something. What? She was unhappy with you. So you used that? Yes. Why? Because for once, I wanted to win. Ethan's expression hardened. You didn't win. Ryan looked down. No, you lost yourself. Ryan laughed quietly. Maybe I never had myself. For the first time, Ethan saw something beyond anger. He saw a wounded man who spent years measuring his worth against someone else's inheritance. But understanding wasn't forgiveness. Ethan stood. I won't destroy you. Ryan looked up. Why? Because Dad wanted me to protect you. Ryan's eyes widened. You still care. I'm not protecting your company. Ethan paused. I'm protecting the part of my family that hasn't completely disappeared. Ryan looked away. I don't deserve it. Maybe not. Ethan walked toward the exit. But you have to earn whatever comes next. Meanwhile, Claire had begun rebuilding her own life. She moved into a small apartment. She found work. She stopped wearing expensive clothes. She stopped measuring success by the people standing beside her. One evening, she received a letter from Ethan. Inside was a single sentence. I don't want you to come back. I want you to move forward. Claire cried, not because Ethan had rejected her, because she finally understood his kindness. Weeks passed. Ryan surrendered control of Mitchell Dynamics. Ethan's board prepared to merge the company into Carter Global under strict conditions. But during the final meeting, Ryan unexpectedly entered. I have one demand. Ethan looked at him. What? Don't erase my name. The room went silent. Ethan asked, why? Because I've spent my whole life trying to prove I belong somewhere. He swallowed. I don't want my mistakes to become the only thing people remember. Ethan nodded. Then rebuild it. Ryan looked surprised. From nothing, from responsibility. Ryan extended his hand. Ethan looked at it, then shook it. But outside the boardroom, Claire stood watching through the glass. She had come to return something. A wedding ring. She placed it on Ethan's desk. I thought you should have this. Ethan looked at the ring. You don't need to return it. I do. Why? Because I finally understand. She smiled sadly. Love isn't something you keep because you're afraid to lose it. She walked away. Ethan watched her disappear. For the first time, he felt no anger, only peace. Then his phone rang. Daniel answered. His face changed. Sir, we have a problem. What now? Someone has purchased 22% of Carter Global. Ethan stood. Who? Daniel looked at the report. We don't know. Ethan stared at the screen. Then he saw the name of the investment company. His face went pale. Because the company belonged to the one person his father had warned him about. His father's former business partner. A man believed to have died 20 years ago. The boardroom erupted. 22%? That means someone is preparing a hostile takeover. Who was behind it? Ethan raised his hand. The room went silent. Daniel projected the documents onto the screen. The investment company was called Blackridge Capital. Ethan recognized the name. His father had mentioned it once. Only once. And he had said, if Blackridge ever returns, don't fight them with money. Ethan stared at the screen. Find out who owns it. Daniel nodded. Hours later, the answer arrived. Victor Hale, Ethan's father's former partner. Alive, and very much in control. Victor appeared on a video call. An older man with silver hair smiled. Ethan, you knew my father. I knew him better than anyone. You're buying my company. I'm reclaiming what your father took from me. What did he take? Victor's smile disappeared. My life's work. Ethan remained calm. You're mistaken. Am I? Victor leaned closer. Your father built Carter Global with my technology. Then he pushed me out. And you waited 20 years. I waited for the right chairman. Ethan understood. You've been watching me. For years. Victor smiled. You lived quietly. You married. You pretended to be ordinary. Why? Because I needed you to reveal the weakness of Carter Global. And you thought I was the weakness. I thought you were spoiled. Ethan smiled. That was your mistake. Victor's expression changed. Ethan continued. You bought 22% because you thought I'd panic. Victor said nothing. You expected me to start buying shares. Yes. You expected me to spend billions defending the company. Yes. Ethan leaned forward. But my father taught me something. What? Never fight someone on the battlefield they prepared. Ethan ended the call. Daniel looked at him. What did you do? I bought Blackridge's debt. Daniel stared. You bought their debt? All of it. Why? Because Victor used borrowed money to buy our shares. Daniel slowly understood. If his lenders call the debt, Blackridge collapses. Exactly. 2 days later, Victor's empire began collapsing. The stock market reacted. Banks demanded repayment. Investors panicked. Victor called Ethan. You can't do this. Ethan answered calmly. You tried to take my company. I'll destroy you. No. Ethan looked at the city below. You'll destroy yourself. Victor's voice became quieter. Your father was ruthless. My father was complicated. And you? Ethan paused. I'm different. He ended the call. The takeover was over. But Ethan didn't celebrate. Instead, he called Ryan. "I need you at the office." Ryan arrived. Ethan handed him a file. "What is this?" "Your new company." Ryan stared. "You're giving me another chance?" "No." Ethan shook his head. "I'm giving you a responsibility." Ryan opened the file. It was a new technology company. Small, independent, no Carter money, no family privilege. "You'll build this yourself." Ryan looked at him. "And if I fail?" "Then you'll learn." Ryan smiled faintly. "Why are you doing this?" "Because Dad was wrong about one thing." "What?" "People can't be protected from consequences." Ethan paused. "But they can be given the chance to become better after them." Ryan nodded. For the first time, the brothers looked at each other without competition. Meanwhile, Claire stood outside Ethan's office. She almost turned around. Then Ethan saw her. "Come in." She entered. "I heard what happened." "Yes." "Ryan told me." Ethan nodded. Claire looked around. "You really changed." "So did you." She smiled. "I don't expect anything." "I know. I just wanted to say goodbye properly." Ethan looked at her. "Goodbye?" "I've accepted a position in another state." He was surprised. "Where?" "Boston." "Why?" "Because I need to build a life that isn't connected to yours." Ethan smiled. "That might be the healthiest thing you've ever done." Claire laughed through tears. "I deserve that." "You deserved honesty." She looked at him. "Were you ever happy with me?" "Yes." "Even after everything?" "Yes." "Why?" Ethan answered quietly. "Because the love was real, even though the ending wasn't." Claire's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. Then she turned toward the door. "Ethan?" "Yes." "If you had told me who you were 6 years ago," he interrupted gently. "You shouldn't need to know someone's wealth to know their worth." Claire closed her eyes. "That is exactly what I needed to hear." She left. Ethan stood alone. Months later, Carter Global reached new heights. Ryan's company began growing honestly. Claire built a successful career of her own. Nobody returned to the lives they once had. And Ethan? He finally understood what being chairman truly meant. Not owning the biggest building. Not controlling billions. Not having the power to destroy an enemy. It meant having enough power to choose who you want to become. One evening, Ethan stood on the rooftop of Carter Global. Daniel joined him. "You ever regret it?" "Regret what?" "Not taking Claire back." Ethan smiled. "No." "Why?" Ethan looked at the city. "Because sometimes losing someone isn't the tragedy." Daniel waited. "The tragedy is losing yourself trying to keep them." The city lights reflected in the glass towers below. Ethan had once believed his greatest victory would be proving Claire wrong. It wasn't. His greatest victory was realizing he no longer needed her to be wrong. She had chosen another man. He had chosen himself. And somewhere along the way, the man everyone thought was powerless had discovered the truth. You don't become powerful when people finally recognize your value. You become powerful when you stop needing them to. And that was a lesson Ethan Carter carried with him for the rest of his life. Because sometimes the person who leaves you doesn't destroy your future. Sometimes they unknowingly make room for you to build it.